3 ways to escape the drama triangle after narcissistic abuse. That's what we're talking about in this video. Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa. I'm a trauma expert, top doctor, and leadership catalyst for narcissistic abuse survivors. And in this video and on this channel, I help you transcend your past experience of narcissistic abuse and create greater impact and fulfillment while you change the world. Today, we're talking about 3 ways to escape the drama triangle. The antidote to the drama triangle is the key to improving your relationship dynamics. So, as I often do, I like to start with a story. Mary told her husband she needed help with the kids in the house. Then he abruptly quit his job. The pressure had been building. Mary was the primary wage earner, earning about 80% of their household income. She was also solely responsible for the care of their children in their home. And here her husband often bragged about doing the minimum to get by at work. While at home, he watched TV and played video games, leaving her to do everything else. Mary was struggling to meet the performance demands of her career. Burning the candle at both ends left her feeling absolutely exhausted. She wanted a partner, not another person to clean up after. And she felt absolutely crushed by the weight of the world. Mary needed her husband to step up. When her husband quit his job unexpectedly, Mary felt completely powerless. Now she was the sole wage earner and had to make up an additional 20% of their household income. And worse yet, her husband didn't start helping out with the kids in the home. He made bigger messes while he was home all day. Mary was at an absolute loss. She was so frustrated that he put her in this situation and she saw no way out. And through the years, as a narcissistic abuse recovery specialist, I've seen this dynamic play out again and again. It's the classic Karpman drama triangle, a dynamic that's common to most, if not all, narcissistic relationships. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what the drama triangle is, and more importantly, how to escape it. So back in the 60s, Dr. Stephen Karpman first described the drama triangle. The drama triangle is made up of 3 interrelated roles: the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. The whole dynamic begins when someone feels powerless in a situation or when faced with a challenge and takes on the role of the victim. Now, the other participant in this dynamic also sees that person as powerless, and they take on the role of either the persecutor by judging them harshly or the rescuer by jumping in to save the day. This dysfunctional dynamic keeps the participants stuck in a disempowered state and is super common to narcissistic relationships. But worse yet, the participants get used to the dynamic. It starts to feel normal. And soon they find this dynamic at play in their other relationships. Without knowledge or awareness of this pattern, they may carry this dysfunctional dynamic into other relationships that could have been healthy for years, even decades after the narcissistic relationship has ended. So let's think back for a second to the story about Mary and her husband. Mary felt completely powerless. She stepped into the role of the victim. She saw her husband as the persecutor, the one who caused the situation, who caused her increased stress. He also saw her as powerless and took advantage of the situation, using it as an opportunity to devalue her further, increasing her stress through passive aggression, making more messes at home, taking on fewer household responsibilities, through weaponized incompetence, doing the things he did do so poorly that she wouldn't want to have him do them again, through sabotage, through undermining her competence. He chose the role of persecutor in that moment. Now, when Mary reached her breaking point and was ready to end the relationship, her husband still saw her as powerless. She'd threatened before, but not taken any action. But this time he jumped in and started repairing things at home, doing things with the kids, running errands. His Hoover was a pivot to the role of rescuer. But Mary's continued stress and overwhelm led to her husband believing that she didn't appreciate his efforts, that none of it made any difference. This caused for him narcissistic injury. And at this point, he chose to return to the role of persecutor and sabotage her further. Now, as you can imagine, this story could go on and on. It is absolutely critical to learn how to break free. So while Dr. Karpman described the drama triangle back in the late 60s, it wasn't until 2005 that a man named David Emerald Wommeldorf proposed a solution. He referred to it as the empowerment dynamic. And the empowerment dynamic is the secret, the key to escaping the drama triangle. The empowerment dynamic shifts the participants from an anxiety-based, problem-focused role to a passion-based, solution-focused role. And the shift starts with stepping into the center of the triangle and observing the dynamic. Consciously choosing to step out of the roles of victim, persecutor, or rescuer. Then shifting into the corresponding solution-focused role. The victim becomes the creator, the persecutor becomes the challenger, the rescuer becomes the coach. So let's talk about the role of the creator. The creator steps out of the role of victim into full ownership of their ability to choose how to respond to a challenge. By harnessing their inspiration and focusing instead on solutions, the creator takes positive action to move forward. Mary has been playing the role of victim. To step out of the role of victim and into the role of creator, Mary first needs to realize that she's in the drama triangle. She needs to shift her thoughts to focusing on solutions, not problems. She needs to own her ability to resolve her own challenges. And as Mary steps into her power, solutions become apparent. Let's talk about the challenger. The challenger steps out of the role of persecutor and sees the power and strength in others, encouraging them to expand and to evolve despite their challenges. As a catalyst of positive change, the challenger takes a stand for others' unrealized potentials, even and especially when those individuals can't see it. The challenger doesn't criticize or blame, but inspires others to see their potential. Challengers are disruptors. They shake others loose from their stuckness, and their radical candor is in service to the creators that they awaken. So in our scenario, Mary begins work with a narcissistic abuse recovery specialist who takes on the role of challenger. That challenger sees Mary's strength, power, wisdom, and her ability to handle even the most daunting and crazy challenges, disrupting Mary's self-doubt and her powerlessness. She inspires Mary to see things clearly, to commit to moving forward. Let's talk about the third role, the coach. The coach, in the alternative role to the rescuer, sees the power, the strength, the wisdom in others and their ability to solve their own challenges. The coach asks questions and listens deeply to invite the individual to step into their own power and create their own solutions. And as opposed to the role of an advisor or an advice giver, the coach encourages and supports the individual to discover their own answers. So in our scenario, when Mary tells her best friend the whole story, her best friend doesn't offer to make phone calls or go to the library to pick up resources. That would be rescuing. Instead, her friend listens intently, asks clarifying questions to reveal potential solutions, and then says to Mary, "It sounds like you have a few good options. I know you'll choose the best one. What are you going to do?" So let's get really real for a minute. In my decades of experience with narcissistic abuse recovery, I find that nearly all survivors either reside in or slide into the drama triangle. It's a really common go-to dynamic. And if this sounds all too familiar, you're not alone. And until a survivor has broken the trauma bond, they attract new narcissists, new people who are going to utilize this victim, persecutor, rescuer dynamic, reinforcing the pattern. Now, many choose to remain in the drama triangle. They completely resist the empowerment dynamic. They see challengers as victim blaming. They see someone in the role of coach as someone who's just unhelpful. They are waiting to be rescued, but instead continue to be persecuted, keeping them stuck in the dynamic. Now, others, like you, are ready to break free, and I love helping people do that. As a narcissistic abuse survivor, I shifted from the role of victim to the role of creator, creating for you what I wish I had had. And now, as a narcissistic abuse recovery specialist, I guide other survivors to shift from victim to creator with a proven process that allows them to create solutions. As a leadership catalyst for narcissistic abuse survivors, I take on the role of challenger, disrupting the status quo, speaking the truth, and holding my clients' unrealized potential. And in the empowerment dynamic role of coach, I empower clients with choice about how they move forward. If that sounds like something that you need, say, "I'm ready" in the comments, and let's have a conversation. Breaking free from this dynamic is key to rewriting your future. I'll see you in the next video.